Hello and welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Anita Bulb, and show notes and links to some of the things I discuss can be found in the description box below. How are you? Are you getting out and about? The restrictions are lifting quite a bit in Britain, particularly in England, but as I'm in Wales it's slightly different. I will be going back to work on the 15th of July, which is going to be interesting as there are about 40 or 45 staff that work in my offices and only 11 are allowed in at any one time. So it's going to be a very different working day, but it will be nice to see some of my work colleagues even from a distance. So anyway, I've been trying this week to complete some of the outstanding projects and things that just have been lurking around. So let's get on. First, knitting. You might have noticed I am wearing my Peacock Eyes cardigan from Justyna Lorkowska. I've finished this and I absolutely love it. It was the very first pattern that I purchased on Ravelry several years ago, and it is knit on circular needles, and the pattern, well, I just couldn't get my head around it at the time, but this time, several years on, it was easy. It's just a different way of working, and I've got another pattern that I'm working on which is the same. It's sort of bitty. It's not, I think I'm quite methodical and I like things laid out in the order that you're going to do them, and when bits of the pattern are on different pages and things, it's a little bit harder for me. It's not the way I would work, but I can do it and I love this, and the yarn is so soft. It's the Drops, I've got notes and I think it was last week I put the yarn in, Drops Baby Alpaca Silk, and it's lovely and soft and stretchy. I haven't blocked it, but I'm not really a huge blocker. I know with shawls sometimes to open the pattern up, especially if you've got lace, it's a good idea, but with cardigans and that I haven't really got much of a clue. But when I do wash it, I will dry it flat and sort of just spread it out a bit, maybe for this to open up a bit. But I'm really happy with it. I don't know if you can see, but I have got 15 little mother of pearl buttons from the button box on Etsy. It says, the pattern says 13, but I made sure I had the one main button here in the middle of the button, and I worked up that way and down that way, so it worked out about, if I did a button an inch, it was quite evenly spaced, and that worked out to 15, so I did 15. So anyway, I'm very, very happy with that. So one garment completed. That's my only finished object in knitting, but I have two works in progress, and the first one I want to show you is in a Christmas project bag, because I started this before Christmas, and it's the Afterthought Everything Socks. Now, I was following Ellie of Craft House Magic. She's done several tutorials on it. So first you had to knit a sock tube, which I did, which was these two socks together. So it was kind of like that, and I had a cuff on each end, and then I followed Ellie's tutorial to split them into two. So now I've put two heels on, and the next stage is, these aren't heels, are they? I put two toes on and the next stage is to put the heels. And this is the West Yorkshire Spinners signature Christmas colourway in Robin that was that last year's or the year before's? I'm not sure, but anyway, they'll be ready for this Christmas, won't they? So I've got to put the heels in next following her tutorial, and they'll be finished. And it isn't as scary as I thought. I did pick up all the stitches on the needles either side where I was going to cut, and then did the little snip and then unthreaded the yarn, so I didn't drop any stitches. The way Ellie shows it, she actually just leaves the stitches all live and then picks them up, but I knew I would get in a terrible mess if I did that. So there's that, and I've started a new project. Now this project came about because, as I said last time, my friend is expecting a baby, and I've been thinking what sort of things could I make her for the baby, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I wanted to use this yarn that my cousin Nikki had sent me from Canada several years ago, and she did say for making things for a baby. Now she's got several colours she sent me, but these are the colours I'm using in this project. So there's a grey. The colours are, one is ash, one is iceburg, and one is shell. So I'm guessing that's ash, iceberg, shell. And I thought they went pretty nicely together. And you had to cake them up. And I was going to make a baby blanket, a car seat blanket, a crocheted one for my friend in a sort of chevron pattern. And it's got little holes for the car seat straps to go through. And I thought this would be lovely and soft and beautiful for that. But when I was skeins this up, I don't know if you can see it there. It's quite fluffy and the little bits come off. And I thought that's not very good for a baby. They're floating down there. I wouldn't want them to inhale anything like that. So I was a bit disappointed, and I'd caked them up. So I had a little look on Ravelry, and I couldn't really find any projects. So what I did in the end was I looked up the actual yarn on Ravelry to see what projects people had made with it. And it's the Blue Sky Fibres organic cotton, and it's worsted. Now, in Britain, we don't really have worsted weight yarn. And so I went on Ravelry and I found this pattern. It's called Campside by Alicia Plummer. So you might have heard of it. And it's actually a free pattern. And it's designed for DK weight. But some people, I always look at other people's Ravelry projects when I'm going to do a pattern, had done it in worsted. And someone had done these colours, but not this yarn, but someone else had used this yarn. So I decided to make that. And you have to use, well, I've used 5.5mm needles, and it's lovely, the signature. Are they called signature? I don't know. These coloured needles, and they're nice and chunky, and this yarn is a dream to work with. It's thick and soft, and it runs through your fingers. It's really, really nice. So I wanted the pink to be at the top nearest my neck, because I have a pink winter coat that I think this is going to look really nice with. And now I'm going down onto the lighter grey, and then the bottom section will be the dark grey, and the ribbing will be in the dark grey. And it is so nice to work on. I like the pattern. And this was another one of those patterns where it's sort of, the instructions are all over the place, because it starts off telling you about the charts on the first page, and it's this far down the second page before it even tells you how to begin. Well, the pattern begins garter, tab, cast on. Second page down there, and then you're sort of flipping back and forth. And it's written pattern instructions and also charted. but I don't really get on with charted, although it does help me sometimes. If I'm a little bit confused, I can go and look on the chart. And I did get a little bit confused because the instructions are on the second page, but the written sort of chart is on the front page. I followed the chart for chart A, and at the end I went straight on to chart B, and I couldn't get the right number of stitches, and I thought I must have gone wrong, and then I worked out how many stitches I should have had, and that was right. But on the second page it tells you how to follow the charts. In the first chart you had to knit the first 16 rows twice, and then row 1 to 4, and each knit row you increase a couple of stitches. So obviously that's why I was out. If that makes any sense. So if anyone else is making this, please make a note. What I ended up doing at the bottom of chart A, I wrote repeat chart A, then rows 1 to 4, and that means I should have 125 stitches. And at the bottom of chart B, I've put repeat chart. Do I have to repeat chart? So yes. So on the end of chart B, you have to repeat rows 1 to 12 and things like that. So they're not actually. This is what I mean. I like the instructions to flow rather than be choppy, because I go wrong. So I am really enjoying knitting that, and because it's worsted, it's knitted up really quickly, and I just think it's going to be so nice and squidgy, because winter will be here before we know it, and I will be needing a nice warm shawl. And I should finish that quite soon, because I only started it a couple of days ago and I have been really enjoying it. Really, I should have finished the socks, but I started looking for the baby pattern, found this, and then just started working on this, because I'm a bit scatty and I go all over the place. So that's all my knitting projects. Now, I am still going to make the baby car seat cover for my friend's baby, because she's having a baby in November, so she'll need a nice warm blanket. And this is what I've decided to do. This is my Jolly Chunky crochet bag by Attic24. It's a free pattern. If you go on her blog, I'm sure everyone knows Lucy from Attic24. And the I lined this recently as well. I did put it on Instagram, because I've made this years and years ago, and I used to use it as a bag, but my keys and pens and things used to poke out of it, and I always meant to line it, never got round to it. So while I've been off, I did line it. So I put all my yarns in there, and this pattern is called the Chevron baby car seat blanket, and I haven't printed the picture of it off, but I'll put a couple of pictures of other people's versions here, because it looks really nice, and I like the different colours people have done. So I've decided I'm going to use the leftovers of this bag, so these different yarns, and these are Stylecraft chunky yarns, and they come in a pack, because you could buy a pack to go, a kit kind of, all the colours that go in the Jolly Chunky bag, and this was several years ago, but I'm pretty sure they still do them now. So they're just all the different, well, all the different colours really. It's easier to show you in there. So I'm going to do the chevrons, and I've got this yarn. I don't know where I got this from. I don't know if you can really see, but there's like little flecks of different colours in there, all bright colours. So I might use that for the edging. But it looks like a really nice pattern. I think it comes up quite small. People have said it's not really big enough for a toddler, and they've just added a few chevrons. But I'm going to do the smaller one, because I think for baby car seats, the new car seats now fit onto the push chairs. So the whole car seat's taken out of the car. So if you were putting a baby in and it's winter time, if you put the baby in the car seat, in the house, and then you put your little blanket over and you put them in the car. Once you're in the car, you've got your heaters going and everything. And if they were in a little snowsuit or anything, they'd be boiling, wouldn't they? So I think it's a good idea just to have this little blanket. And then if you're visiting somebody like me, if they bring the baby around to visit me and they take the car seat out and the baby's asleep, you won't want to get them out of the car seat to take their coat off because they've just got a little blanket over them. So I think that's a good idea. That's my plan for that one anyway. And I was going to ask, what do you call prepped projects? Because we've got FOs for finished objects, we've got HOs for half finished objects, we've got WIPs for works in progress. Thought perhaps we can have PPs for prepped projects. So that's one of my PPs. Right. Anyway, on to sewing. I've done a little bit of sewing, and I really enjoy making things for my little grandsons, or for children in general, I think, because the patterns are small, easy to handle, the fabrics are so cute, and I saw this fabric and I wanted to make Harry a top. And I've used the Ellie Mac Raglan top. It's a PDF pattern. You do have to pay for it, but it's just like a couple of pounds. It's nothing, and it's just such an easy, cute make. And this fabric here I got from Flamingo Fabrics, and then the navy I got from Pudding Face Fabrics on Etsy, because I thought the sharks were navy. And so from Flamingo Fabrics I bought black, but it's actually I thought the sharks were black, but they were actually navy. So I bought black, and then I had. Do you really need to know any of that? Anyway, I made him this, and I bought a ½ meter of fabric, and it was just long enough to make this length for him. So I think in future I'm going to have to get a meter, because I was just trying not to be wasteful. And there's only 4 pattern pieces, so the front and the back, sleeves and the neckband, and I had plenty of fabric over, so I made a matching one for Jack, and it is so cute. I don't see, it's just like a little version. So this is the 2-year-old, and this one I think I made the 8-year-old. And they are coming over on Sunday for lunch, because we're allowed in Wales to travel further than 5 miles now, and to have a bubble with another family and someone who isn't in your household, another family that's, well, other people that aren't in your household. So they're coming over, and I can't wait to see them and give them their t-shirts. And I also made some face masks. Now, Martin's a science lecturer, so I got him some fabric with little science experiments on. And I just had this leftover fabric from a dress that I made a long time ago now, and it's quite thick quilting cotton, but I find them very claustrophobic when I put them on. I'll put a picture in of Martin and I both wearing them. We haven't worn them out. You don't have to wear them out in Wales, and we only go to the shops once a week. And the majority of people don't wear a mask in Wales, not in the shop we go in. But I know I should start wearing them. But it's been very warm, and like I say, very claustrophobic. When we go back to work, I know the office manager has got disposable face masks for certain tasks that you have to do. So I'm sure I'll get used to wearing them, and I know it's important, so I must try. And I followed a tutorial on YouTube, and I'll put a link in my description box to that tutorial if you're interested in making some, if you haven't already. So I'm just looking at my notes. Oh yes, one of my finished objects that has been languishing for a very long time is this Christmas cushion. Now, I did the front panel ages ago. I think it's is it log cabin when you do these blocks like this? I'm not sure, but I bought this 2 squares of this, and I thought the dog in the back looked a bit like our old English sheepdog Charlie, although I think it is meant to be Dalmatian. And I bought this fabric from Spoonflower because you can buy these little squares. They are, I think they're sample fabrics, a sample, but you can choose the larger size and they're just a couple of pounds. So I thought Spoonflower fabric is quite expensive, so you just get a little piece and then surround it with other fabric. I thought it was quite effective. And on the back, I just did like a pillowcase, and so you don't have a zip or any buttons because it's nice and squidgy. And I think sometimes if you're lying against a cushion, you always seem to the zip digs in or buttons. And I put a picture of it on Instagram, and Jodie, my daughter Jodie, messaged and said, "Can I have one of those, please?" And I had actually intended making it for her for last Christmas. So it was quite funny because I said, "Well, it's yours. I made it for you. You just didn't know because it was supposed to be a surprise for last year." So she can have that anyway. I'll perhaps keep it here until nearer Christmas and she can have it then. And I also made a little bucket bag, and these are some of the English paper piecing squares that I had of Martin's sister from the vintage Laura Ashley fabric. And you might see that the pattern is upside down inside. That was intentional because I wanted to fold it over, and to make sure it looked the right way up when it was folded over, the inside had to be upside down. So I made that, and that was another tutorial, and the tutorial for that was from Jean Truelove, and I'll put a link to her tutorial because she has done loads of tutorials for different things, and she goes into depth. In depth, she explains everything, and she sews it all in real time. She doesn't fast forward it or anything, and she gives you some little hints and tips along the way, which I found really useful. So I've made that, and I thought the little squares that you cut out to do the box bottom could go in my English paper piecing tin to be stored away, and these were just the leftover bits of the interfacing, the thicker. It's nice to have that sort of thicker interfacing. And I thought, well, I'll keep that as well because you never know what I might be able to use it for. And then 2 of the hexies I turned into a lavender cushion, which you can't smell, but does smell very nice. And I thought that's actually a nice way to use some of them up. You can't really see, I don't know if you can see the pattern on it, the light coming in. But they're quite nice to make. And I had some lavender in the bottom of a bottle that I thought, oh, let's just tip it in here, and then that's one less thing in my craft room. So that's all my sewing projects, and I have some acquisitions. Now, the first one is the craft pod. I don't know if any of you have this. Now, I bought a subscription for a year, and this is the last one, the summer one. I saw it on Kaz from the We Sew and Sew podcast a year ago. She had a subscription and she showed what was inside the box. And I thought, that's so nice that I need to get one as a gift to myself. And this is the very last one that came. And the one that, I think the last one, I made the key fob for my friend's 60th because we were out of work, so I could send it to her because I couldn't get to the shops. So I made her that, and I haven't done a lot of the projects in any of them, but I do intend, now I've got the 4, I think I will slowly go through and do the projects. They are embroidery and sewing projects. You can, I'm going to put a little clip in of me opening it, and I'll talk through the different bits in there. to show you first. So if I put that in here and then I'll come back to you in a minute. Craft Pod is a quarterly subscription box. So you get spring, summer, autumn, winter. And you always get a welcome card telling you what's inside the box. This is the summer box. It's got a very cute needle threader. A cross stitch hoop. A chamomile tea bag. Some matching thread, guttermans. Lots of lovely embroidery silks. It's definitely value for money. A 9-inch zip. Some butterfly pins. An A5 size postcard, or you could put it in a picture frame. Summer meadow embroidery, and the instructions are so detailed. You get pages and pages of help. Cardboard bobbins to wrap your cross-stitch threads on. And the zip is for this embroidered zip pouch. It tells you how to make it, and you can make this with or without a sewing machine. A template for the embroidery design. And fabrics to make the pouch. Some green and the cream, and then there's also another piece of cream to do the embroidery on. So I think it's very good value for money. And I think you can buy them just a one-off, a quarterly, so a spring one or a summer one, whatever you fancy. So some of the projects you can sew using the sewing machine, like the bag, for example, in here. But most of them are hand stitched, and I have found while I've been off work with the furlough scheme, hand sewing I have really quite enjoyed it. It's just calming and nice, and you know it's going to take a long time. There's no rush to the finish, and it's the same with the English paper piecing. I like doing that because, well, with that there's no real skill. You've just got to keep your stitches small and neat. So obviously there's a little bit more concentration on these projects, but there's some lovely projects in there, so I'm definitely going to start getting on with those. And then last time I directed you in, or pointed you in the direction of Janelle from Rosary Apparel, a tutorial she'd done on macrame, which is my latest thing I like doing, and she used this yarn, which is hooked, and it's well, that's not very good. To show you that one. Which way that? This time I'm filming using my little eye, which puts everything backwards to me. So to me that looks left, but it's actually my right hand. So my brain doesn't work that way round. So anyway, I've bought some of this. It's recycled t-shirting material, recycled cotton, is 80% and 20% other recycled fibres, so I don't know what they are. So I bought a lilac, pale lilac, that says pale lilac on this one. This one doesn't say a colourway, but it's a light grey and a red. So I'm going to make some macrame pot holders with those. I've been using a few different things. I started with string, and then I had this funny spongy tubey yarn that I made my stepmom poncho in. I used that, but it's slightly unravelling where the knots were, where you knot it up at the end. So that's probably not the best, and it's very stretchy. So I hope this, I hope this isn't going to be too stretchy. And then I had some sort of raffia, coloured raffia fabric, and I had to go with that. Pretty much, if anything is in a long strip, I'm thinking, could I make some macrame out of it? So I'm going to make some pot holders with those, and I'm looking forward to that. And when the yarn arrived, it also came with a little pattern for a giraffe, a crochet giraffe. And I'm thinking I might make that for Jack, because I've made Harry his rhino, Austin the rhino, from the Edward's Menagerie book. And I've made Josh the orangutan from the same book. But Jack hasn't had a toy, and he loves his cuddly toys. So I thought that would be quite fun. And I'm just looking to see what size needle you'd use. I'm guessing a pretty thick one. So have I put it in there? No. I'll probably see it as soon as I come off. Oh, it shows a hook, but it doesn't tell you the hook. I'm sure it says here on here somewhere. Oh, so here, let's do 12mm hook. 12mm hook. I'll have to look to see if I've got one of those. And then I also bought some fabric off eBay, some fat quarters, because my stepmom would like me to make a table runner, similar to the table runner I have got on my coffee table, which I will put a picture in to show you. But she wants it the full length of her table and dangling off the ends. So I just sent for this on eBay. I quite like that. She wanted greys, and I knew this fabric was going to be quite thin because I looked at the reviews, but I don't mind because I'm going to interface it, and it's a little bit hard to show you the different ones. I might put a little, I'll film it and put them in because it'll be easier here. So I've also ordered a 1.5 meters of fabric for the backing. So when that comes, I'll wash it all together and I can start on that as well. And if there's enough left, I'm going to make her some table mats to match, because that will look nice. So that's everything that I have got done so far. I thought I better hop onto my channel and show you my projects before Sunday, because I want the boys to have their t-shirts, and then is it the following week back in work, or the week after? Anyway, the 15th. But it's only part-time. I'm going in 2 days, and one of the other secretaries is going in 2, and one of the other secretaries is going in 1 day, so it's all going to be very different. So anyway, that's everything I've got this time. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and if you're going back to work, I hope it's not too upsetting or distressing for you. If you would like to see more of my videos, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below if there's anything you want to ask me or just comment on. I love receiving your comments and I always reply. So Take care until I see you next time. Bye for now.